Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of the DMIT podcast. Episode 16 now. Wow, we're definitely close to 20. So this week, I bring you guys a very special meet and greet with a YouTube content creator by the name of Erin Travels. And that's her channel's name, which I'll definitely be linking down below. Not her actual name. But we had a very special conversation regarding our experiences in Mexico and life in general. I really hope you guys enjoy it. But before we get to that, I did have a minor update. I know I've been talking about Mexico and possibly traveling there pretty soon, but that may actually be happening a little sooner than expected because I was actually able to get the first dose of the COVID vaccine today, with the second dose being able to be scheduled after April 10th. So yeah, that's in a few weeks, and then I'll be fully vaccinated for COVID, which will give me decent protection against the virus and give me some peace of mind for traveling to Mexico. So I don't expect anything to change for this upcoming week. But in the following week and the weeks following that, I may not upload episodes just because I do have quite a bit of planning to do. Since ideally I'd like to leave a few weeks after I get my second dose of the vaccine. But yeah, I'll definitely keep you guys posted just because I do have some plans as well once I'm in Mexico in regards to content, such as like video vlogs and stuff like that I want to start working on. So I'm super excited about that. But without further ado, let's get to the conversation.
This is the first time I've used Zoom audio only, so I'm so used to seeing the video that I'm like, okay, is it working?
That's what I was expecting to do as well. I was like, oh, we're probably gonna have to do video. But then I was thinking, I haven't gotten a haircut in like 6+ months. I've actually been cutting my own hair for like the longest. So that's why I was like, no, we cannot do video right now. That's been my life.
I know this is life in the COVID times. We're all looking a little frumpy.
Yes,
scruffy right
improvising
now.
as best as we can, it looks like.
That's right. Exactly. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, nice to meet you, Erin. Sure, this is the first time we've ever talked, so thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Would you like spend 5 minutes to just tell me a little bit about yourself? So I feel like I don't know you very well.
Yeah, well, my name is Victor. I was originally born in Mexico in the northern state of Durango, but I moved to Las Vegas when I was like 5. So I've pretty much been here my whole entire life, maybe like 25 years already since I'm 30, and it seems like the math adds up there.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, yeah, around like 2019 is when I just started kind of not having like self-doubts or anything like that, but just kind of going through this like self-exploratory, I guess, adventure. And I don't know, I was like at a really good job, but I think like similar to how you kind of describing your videos, I felt like that it was very unfulfilling. It was fulfilling at some point, but then after a while, it just became like very repetitive. And I just started wondering, like, what else is there to life besides like just going to work and like partaking in the rat race. And yeah, I just wanted to see what else is out there, what other opportunities there were. And earlier that year, I'd actually gone to Mexico with my mom to visit our little pueblito. And I just remember being like so enthralled by like their lives, just because it's so much more different than I think our lives here in the States. That I don't know, I just wanted to go back to it as fast as I could. So that was like in March, I think, when we went. And ever since we got back from like that trip, I was just so obsessed with going back. And I just remember I would binge watch like all these videos of like people traveling to Mexico and just like kind of reliving, some of those experiences and seeing what else was out there. Like just really, I don't know, just like amp me up and like hype me up to like, I guess, take that risk and just like quit my job and go travel for a while. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I mean, like past that or before that, like my life was pretty, I would say mundane. It was pretty boring, nothing too exciting.
Right.
Yeah. Even though I
Yeah,
live in
just
Las
like
Vegas,
follow the
right?
expectations. I know, but
Yes,
also like when you live in a place that is a vacation destination, it doesn't feel like that to you because like you're
exactly.
not on vacation. I grew up,
Yes.
45 minutes away from Disney World, and
Hmm.
and then 20 minutes from the beach. But so it always makes me laugh when people talk about Florida as like this place to go on vacation, because to me it's like, well, it's
It's
just real
just,
life. It's
yeah.
going to the
I feel,
grocery store and paying your bills and
yeah, I feel like you
yeah.
acclimate to it, no matter where you're at. I'm sure like people in New York City just feel the exact same way about it. Which is
Yeah.
funny because when my cousins who live in Colorado, I think they live in a very small town as well. Well, not that Las Vegas is small, but like when they visit us, they were just like so surprised by everything, kind of like it reminded me of how I was in Mexico when I previously visited, where they were just so excited, like everything was like capturing their attentions, and they were just like so captivated by like all the like stimulus or like stimulation and lights and everything, And it was really
Right.
interesting to see kind of that dynamic where it's like it just really, I guess, depends on like how much you get out of your comfort zone or like your everyday experience
Hmm.
that I guess is ultimately going to decide how much wonder you kind of see in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's almost like the best thing, to have somebody come from out of town to visit your town and then notice what they notice and what they're excited about, that you're like, oh wow, I just took that for granted. It's kind of
Yeah, for
fun to
sure.
see it through their eyes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember they would
Wow.
ask
So
us like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, 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 go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I just remember they would ask us like, how often do you guys come to the strip? And they were so surprised when we would tell them like, oh, we literally just come here like whenever we have visitors.
Yes,
Maybe
yes,
like once every
exactly.
5 months or something. And they were just like,
Yes.
what? I would be down here every day. And like, it's
You
like,
would for like a week, and then and then you never go back.
exactly. It's like, I mean, I don't know if you want to be here that often, but
Yes.
it's pretty
Yes.
interesting seeing their experience and I guess
Yeah.
reactions.
Yeah. So have you quit your job?
Yes.
Or are you still in the planning process?
So actually, as soon as I got back, well, like I was still in
Mhm.
Mexico when like COVID hit, but it wasn't
Oh
like
gosh.
I think it was like February when things just really started to
Yeah.
set in. Like, hey, this might actually be kind of bad. And in
Right.
March, just because I was like avidly following all the the doom news or whatever how people like to call
Right.
it, and I was just like doom scrolling on Twitter, like every little article I was
Hmm.
reading, and it was just like, oh my god, this is gonna be really bad. And
Yeah.
around that time, I think I was in Puerto Vallarta. I was already
Uh-huh.
kind of in that mode where I was just like, okay, I'm kind of tired of traveling. I kind of want to go back home for a while and see
Uh-huh.
what else I want to
Right.
do. But
Right.
I just ended up actually going back to Durango because my grandma and my godmother still live
Hmm.
there. So I was like, let me
Okay.
go chill with them because I remember people were saying that it was
Hmm.
only gonna last like a month or something like that before we can get it under
I know.
control. Yeah, right.
Right.
And
We were gonna flatten that curve.
exactly, then we were just gonna go back to normal as life was. Uh, but yeah, when I was with them, it just started like to really set in even more that, hey, this is actually really bad. People were starting to lock down their
Yeah.
borders, flights were getting shut down. So I was just like, I was just super stressed. I've never been that stressed in
Yeah.
my life just because I didn't know like what I should be doing. Should I like try to go back
Right.
home and possibly expose myself and then my family consequently? And eventually I did just because I didn't really know what was going to happen. And it was
Right.
now or never. If I waited any longer,
Hmm.
I may not be able to go back. So yeah, I just ended up taking a flight back to Vegas, and I got here in March, I think. And as soon as I got back, I went back to my old job, and it was like it was okay for a while. I just kind of like I guess I saw it with like brand new
Yeah.
eyes again for a while. Where it was just like, okay, it wasn't
Yeah.
that bad. But yeah, like
Hmm.
2 months
Yeah.
in, 3 months in, like it started to set back in where it's like, oh, this is why I left. And
Right.
but I still stay there for like a full year. I started, I think, well,
Yeah.
not a full year. I started like in March, late March, and I ended up
Hmm.
quitting actually in January, like late January, just because I
Wow.
just didn't want to do that anymore. And I feel like
Yeah.
I've always been really responsible with my finances, so I was able to just do
Hmm.
that and wait until like I got a vaccine, I guess, and then go back to
Yeah.
Mexico, just because that's what I've been wanting to do
Wow.
that for like ever since the past. Well, since 2020, like
Hmm.
maybe like a few months in
Right.
to 2020, it's like I just want to go back to Mexico. I should have just stayed over there. It was just hard to like assess all the risk factors, of like what I should be doing.
It
Like,
was
is it
it
safe
was
to stay here?
impossible.
Yeah,
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 we
exactly.
nobody knew anything.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew anything. And we had, yeah, I remember that time. It was just it was crazy making.
Yeah.
I can't imagine having to make that kind of decision because you have 9 million variables and none of them you have
Mm-hmm.
any idea what's going to happen with it. So you just have to make the best decision that you can make with that information that you
Yeah.
have and then roll the dice and see what happens.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was thinking as well. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
I either stay here and potentially, have one of my parents or like one of my family
right.
members in Vegas get sick and not be
And
able to
then
see
not be
them
able
or
to
be
get
with
back.
them. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And I didn't know what was
Yeah.
going to happen in that little town either, just because it's
Yeah.
not one of the safest areas in Mexico
Right.
either. There's like rumors
Right.
going around about like, cartel business and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it also like got me thinking about that as well. Like what will happen if like shit really hits the fan, so to say, It's like
Yeah.
what's going to happen in this little
Right.
town. So oh man, it
Right.
was such a stressful situation that
Oh, I know.
I mean
I
looking
know.
back now, obviously hindsight is 2020, but geez,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
really
No.
something.
Nobody could have called that. I remember the moment that I realized that it was going to go throughout all of April and being
Hmm.
so upset. I was like, I can't believe that I'm going to lose all of April. This is just not fair.
Just one little month, right? That's all we lost.
Yes, I know. I just couldn't believe it. And then, it just keeps going and going and going and going.
And then like all
Yeah.
the things that were compounding on top of that as well, like the
Yep.
elections, like everything else was just
Yep.
like such a whirlwind. Like I don't even remember
I
2020. It was just
know.
like a blur for me now.
No.
Like
No, we
it's
just need,
insane,
everybody needs therapy. We all need like to go through therapy just to
right?
get over the trauma that we experienced in 2020. And I feel like I had it relatively easy compared to
Hmm.
what a lot of other people had. So
Yeah.
I just cannot, I mean, I just can't, yeah. And if ever there was a time for us to look at life and say, okay, what do I really want this to look like?
Hmm.
It's now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like it was bad enough before, and I think there were a lot of us that went through a similar process to what you described, where you start to look at your life and say, okay, I checked all the boxes, I did everything that I was supposed to do. I've got the job, and I've got my life is in order, and all this stuff, and it's empty. And what
Hmm.
what the heck?
Like what
Like,
do I have to
where's
show for
the
it at the end?
yes, exactly. It's like this, and this is it. This is I'm just going to keep doing this for the next 30 years of my life, and then what? Like, really, is that
Yeah.
it? But
That's
now, post 2020, we like I feel like I have this renewed sense of just wow, you have no idea. You have no idea how much time you have. You have no
hmm.
idea what's going to happen in that time. Like, there is no time to waste on being in a situation that you're miserable in. There's just
Yes,
no time.
exactly.
Like, what's
Like
the point of that?
for me, like I feel like I was always doing like a cost benefit analysis of like just how
Hmm.
safe I wanted to live, because there's
Yeah.
obviously benefits in like maxing out your Roth
Right.
IRA or something like every year, but then
Yeah.
potentially not even getting to that, to like be able to use like those benefits that you've saved up for,
Right.
because you never know what curveball like
Yeah.
life's gonna throw at you. You could
Exactly.
potentially find yourself in a very dangerous situation where, well, that's your life.
Yeah.
Something horrible happens, and
Yeah.
yeah, you leave sooner than expected.
Right.
And there's like other situations that can happen with your family members as well, where you might need to take care for them, or there's just like
Hmm.
a whole bunch of different variables that can just affect or impact your life in such at such a
Yeah.
magnitude that you were not expecting, that just completely changes your whole, I guess, planning, like everything that you've
Yeah.
kind of planned up until that point. So that was always like in the back of my mind, like how much do I really want to like I guess play it safe versus like what risks do I
Hmm.
want to take before I inevitably die and unfortunately never get to
Right.
do a lot of the things that I wanted to do. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've always kind of been like that ever since like my early 20s, but I guess I just
Yeah.
never really had the courage. Like I just never really like had the
Right.
self-confidence or anything to really just go out there and do
Right.
what I wanted to do. And I mean, luckily it wasn't COVID for me that did it, although it definitely like,
Right.
refocused me in that respect where it's like
Yeah.
now I want to live life even more, because who knows, like
Right.
you were saying, who knows how much time we have left on this earth with our
Yeah.
loved ones. And I don't know. I
Yeah.
just now I'm living in that mindset where it's like I want to make the most of it. Like, yeah, I just want to make the most out of it, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same way. I've always been a very cautious person, very a much a long-term planner. I like to have everything in a row. I like to be,
Yeah.
saving for retirement and all that stuff. And and I think the older that I get, the more it's not that that part goes away. It's that the I think what you were saying about like that confidence and that courage is that
Hmm.
that part has gotten stronger where I'm like, okay, yes, I can be reasonable about this. I
Yes.
can be, in that long-term planning, I think that type of personality goes really well for making a risk like this because it can be a calculated risk.
Hmm.
And when you make a calculated risk and you plan it out, yes, you understand that life is life and you can't control everything and you have no idea what's really going to happen. But I think you take steps to make sure that you have the best chance possible of making what you're dreaming a reality. I think a lot of
Exactly.
people just kind of like leap into things.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes it works out. And sometimes they're like, oh, I'm broke. And now I have to, go
Yes, I've
home and,
actually seen some
you
people
know,
do that on YouTube as well, which is funny.
yeah. It's like, I think a lot of times people like us who have been more cautious, I think a lot of times we get a bad rap because
Hmm.
people look at that and be like, "Oh, you just need to do it. You just need to go for it." And it's like,
Yeah.
yes, I agree with you. However, having a savings account really, really helps with going for it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just think it serves as a safety net, right? I mean, if something
Yes,
horrible happens, at least you have that to fall
yes,
back on. And
yes, yes.
I mean, yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying that sometimes like when you want to do these risky things, it's good to be a little bit calculated, It's good to do a little planning.
Yeah,
I think they go well together, like you were saying. I completely agree
right,
with what you're saying. But hopefully like
right.
that continues into the future as
Yeah,
well. Just because I don't know how much
yeah.
COVID has actually changed me. I feel
Oh,
like I've
I
been
know,
locked in
right?
this house for like 2 months already, like almost 2 months. So I feel like my social skills are completely like
No,
depleted. Like I don't
I
talk to
know.
anybody outside of like Discord or like digitally. So it's like, oh my God. Like I don't know how like back in 2019, I felt like I was super
Yeah.
super aware, like super like careful, like super cautious. And now I'm not sure if I have like that same level of confidence. But
I
at the same
know.
time, I don't know how much of that was just like ego and me like thinking that I was actually like being cautious versus like me actually now realizing like, hey, anything could happen at any moment. So it's like, uh,
Yes, I know. I
I
know. I
just
feel like when we're finally fully vaccinated and we start to like tiptoe back into real life, I feel like, okay, either I'm gonna be I can see it going one of two ways. Either I'm gonna be freaked out by everything because I've
yeah,
been like locked away for so long, or I'm just gonna run around hugging everybody all the time. Like, oh hi! I
the
haven't
best
seen
of both
another
worlds,
person outside of my family.
right?
People will be
So
like,
just hugging
whoa,
random people,
whoa, calm down, Erin.
right? No, I think that's I don't know. I think that's how I'm gonna be as well. Like, cause I'm gonna be so awkward. Like, oh my God, you know. I feel like I am just gonna be hugging everybody and trying to make as many friends as possible. Just because, oh my God, I've
Yes,
been dying to
yes,
just like go out and like have somebody in front of me,
yes.
like actually be able to talk to them
Right.
and just, I don't know, like enjoy moments together. And I just miss that so
No,
much because I feel
I
like that's
know. It's that
something,
like connection.
hmm and like just the
Yeah,
psychological benefits that you get from that as well, just from being able to like talk about your ideas to somebody or your problems and getting that
yeah,
feedback from them. And of course, you could always
yeah.
do that like through like the internet or whatever, but it just, I don't know, it misses like that
Right.
personability and like closeness.
Yes,
But
there is something about seeing people face to face.
yeah,
I'm
for sure.
curious about how it feels for you when you're in Mexico, having having family there and being from Mexico like yourself, like having roots there, like
Hmm.
ancestral roots or whatever. Like, how does it feel when you're there? Like, how do you feel about Mexico?
Um,
Do you feel like a sense of ownership, or do you feel like you're in a foreign country? And then does that feel strange? How is it having that connection, but not having grown up there?
it's a little bit of it's a little weird question to ask me particularly, just because I feel like growing up, I never really identify with like anything, like even with my family to an
Yeah.
extent, just because I feel like
Mhm.
you never really choose, like where you were born, who your family is. So like,
Right.
not that I'm like ashamed of any of that or like where I came from,
Right.
but to me, it was just not, never something like part of my like identity. And I think that's like kind of
Mm-hmm.
fed in by like the individualist culture that we have here in America. So like I
Mm-hmm.
always saw like, oh, I'm an individual, blah blah blah, I don't care. But then like
Right.
when I went back, and for a while, like to be quite honest, like I completely forgot about Mexico. Even though I
Yeah.
didn't really like living in Las Vegas, just because I missed my life in Mexico
Mm-hmm.
initially.
Mm-hmm.
I never really liked this city just because like I mean I feel like everybody has history in like the city that they spend
Yeah.
most of their time in. So
Yes.
like I was always looking at other places like New York or California, never necessarily Mexico.
Yes.
And it wasn't until I got that opportunity with my mom that I kind of started to, I guess, get a sense of like everything else that Mexico was. Because I feel like
Yeah.
to an extent, when you live here for so long, kind of start to
Mm-hmm.
internalize a lot of the things that are said about Mexico. To where like you think
Mm-hmm.
it is a violent place, like you don't really ever want to go back. Like why would you want to go back?
Mm.
So there's always like been that weird dynamic with me where like I never really identified with like Mexican culture. But like now that I
Right.
actually went back and learned so much and like read history, like listened to like audiobooks of like Mexican history and stuff, like it really like
Yeah.
helped, I guess, center like my identity a little bit more to where like it's like, okay, this is where you're from, It's like,
Mm.
and not necessarily that this is
Mm.
all you are, because obviously I've been
Right.
influenced by so much by like American culture, which is so funny
Right.
because this is a conversation that I was having with a previous guest of mine, where like I feel like
Yeah.
I guess like Mexican culture or like Latino or Latina culture is like expanded to such an
Mm.
extent to where like
Mm.
I feel like there is an American influence in like Mexican culture now, Like even if you go to like
Mm.
the northern states, like they use a lot of like
Mm-hmm.
English words like mixed in with like Spanish, or like they
Yeah.
have like a lot of different loan words. So I feel like there's like like this very like strange like cultural like exchange going on right now. That's I think it's beautiful. I
Mm.
think it's great.
Yeah.
I love seeing that mixture. But yeah, I don't know. Like when I was in Mexico, like I guess I definitely felt like I was Mexican. Like I felt like a person there. I didn't necessarily feel like a foreigner. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there is like definitely there definitely are some Mexicans that like consider us like foreigners just because like we've lived in
Mm-hmm.
America for so long. But
Yeah.
I think that's like a very like narrow-minded way of viewing things, just because
Mm.
to some people like we are foreigners here in America as well. So and
Mm.
I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with like those type of views, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I never really felt like a foreigner, and I don't think that people like Americans, like expats or like travelers that
Mm.
go and live in Mexico, are necessarily foreigners either. I mean, legally they kind of are,
Mm.
just for like
Mm-hmm.
legality's
Yeah.
sake. But I don't know. I have like this very broad conception of humanity, and I just feel like we're, we all like are existing in
Yeah.
this like moment in time, and we're, I don't know, it's just national borders and stuff that kind of separates us a bit, but like we're all humans and at the end of the
Right.
day. So
Right. It's so weird because there's so much of it that's just that we make up. What
hmm
is a border? Like there are no borders. That's a completely invented human
exactly,
thing.
yeah.
Like nature doesn't there's nothing about that line between Texas and Mexico. And that wasn't even the border
Yeah,
originally anyway.
it's changed, yeah.
They changed, who knows what things are going to look like in 500 years.
hmm
Um, so yeah, I mean, I love what you're saying about like we're all just existing in this moment in time. And so there is this like timelessness to, I feel, to people, to humans, in that sense. Like we're all the same, like in essentially at our most basic like elements, we're all the
hmm
same. But in this moment in time, then we also have all of these things that are kind of like placed on us, where we're from, or where we were born, or what language we
Yes.
speak, or what our accent is like. Like for me, I was 4 when my family moved from West Virginia to Florida. So I was right around the same age that you moved to Vegas. And even though it was a much, I guess it was more of a minor move because it was from one state to another in the same country. So I didn't, exchange one like culture for another, or a different
hmm
language, or any of that stuff. But Appalachian culture and culture in Florida are significantly different. If you, to a casual observer, I don't think people would say they're different. But when you've been in both, you feel like there is a
Yeah.
feeling that is very different. And so I've moved back to Appalachia now, not to the exact area that I'm from, but it's a very similar culture. It's a very similar place. It's a very similar ethos to where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
And so in a lot of ways, I feel like I'm home. Like I feel things feel familiar, like on a soul level.
Yeah.
But I don't sound like I'm from here. There's a lot about living here that I don't know because I didn't grow up here. I spent my childhood and young adulthood in Florida. And so it's this weird kind of like straddling the line. You know, I feel this ancestral claim to this area, but I think other people, you know, would look at me and be like, oh, you know, I mean, like they say
You're not
hi
from
and I
here.
say hi back and they say, where are you from? Yeah. And I'm like, well, here, but not here.
Yeah. I feel like I experienced the exact same thing in Mexico when, because I speak
Yeah.
Spanish, but I think like
Yeah.
I definitely have an accent, even though I can't hear it. A lot of people
Right.
tell me that I do. They tell me that I
Right.
definitely have like a northern Mexican accent when I speak Spanish, but then
Uh-huh.
I also have the accent of like an American who's trying to speak Spanish. So it's
Right.
like they immediately like I remember like there was like this time when I was in an Uber and like the guy was asking me like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, where are you from? And I just didn't really
Mm-hmm.
feel like talking, so I just like because usually when you tell them like, oh, I live in
Mm-hmm.
Las Vegas, and they start like asking you all these different questions
Mm.
and stuff, so I just told him like, oh,
Yeah.
like I'm from Durango, and I kind of left it at
Uh-huh.
that, right? And then he just tells me like, oh, you don't sound like you're from Durango, you sound like you're from like America. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, I actually moved over there. And it was just weird because it's like, okay, why would you omit that, you know?
Right.
But
Right.
but I think that's also something like very beautiful as well that you can like go somewhere else and have it completely because you get like a whole new like frame of reference to like look at things from as well, you know? Where like when
Right.
I was going to like Mexico, I felt like with everything that was going on in like the political sphere as well, like in America, I was just like dying to get out of
Mm-hmm.
here. And
Yes.
when I went over there and like I finally, you know, kind of got set in a little bit, I acclimated to like the lifestyle over there. I started noticing a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the things that, you know, that were really beneficial to me and like my development, I guess, that I learned in America that I may
Mm.
not have gotten the opportunity to learn or experience in Mexico. So like at
Wow.
some point, like you start realizing that all these like different experiences and like places that you've lived, they influence you like maybe in a negative way, but it's
Yes.
mostly like overwhelmingly positive. And
Yeah.
like I feel like when I came back, like even though like I plan on leaving again soon, I feel
Right.
like I definitely got like a different appreciation for like Vegas, which I never really got, you
Mm.
know, until like I finally left for a while and
Left.
like saw what it
Yes.
offered for me. It's like one of those things like you don't know what you have
Yeah.
until you lose it, and just like family in general as well. Like I was never really close to my family, and oh man, Christmas in Mexico by myself was just
Yeah.
like such a little bit
Oh
depressing.
no, I know. I know. It's
I never
hard.
thought it
It's
was gonna
so
affect me like
hard.
that either, because I don't really
Yes.
celebrate Christmas. But then like just seeing like
Right.
every like Mexican person like out with their family, and like the
Yes.
friends that I met, like they weren't in Mexico City at the
Yeah.
time. They had gone back to like Guanajuato or wherever they were from to like be with their
Right.
families. So it was like I was
Right.
at a low point there in my life as well. So
Yes.
I
I
don't know, it just like
know.
really let me appreciate my family and I guess where I come from, like in a different sense, you know, like from Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So it definitely felt really nice to
Yeah.
like see those combinations and like the full me, I guess.
Yeah. I can relate so strongly to that. And I feel like I always say to people do not understand at all. Like, how could you, you know, you were so happy in Mexico. How could you leave? And I was like, yes, I was very happy in Mexico. And when I moved back to the States and I said, you know, moving back to be closer to my family, you know, a
Mhm.
lot of people didn't believe me. They were like, oh no, surely there's just something about Mexico that you didn't like that you're not
Yeah.
telling us or something. And I'm like, well, you know, it's complicated. I mean, every place has stuff
Yeah.
that you're not going to like. Like, there's stuff about the States that I don't like. I'm sure if I moved to, you know, Portugal, there would be things that I
Exactly,
like
yeah.
about that. Like, that's just life. But no, like, I wouldn't, if it hadn't been for family, like, I certainly wouldn't have moved back to the US. I would have gone to Spain or, you know, somewhere else. Like, but when you are in Mexico specifically, you know, I was just constantly surrounded by these big families, like you said, like, oh, you
Yeah.
know, the grandma's carrying the grandchild, or the cousins are all playing together, and everywhere
Mhm.
you go, you're always seeing these close families together, and it makes you realize, like, wow, you know,
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to have that, and I left it because I really feel like, especially maybe not everywhere, in the United States. I think certain regions may place more importance on the family. I think maybe in the South, perhaps. But I think part of our national narrative is this idea of leaving your family and striking out on your own. And
Yeah.
like when you hear of somebody who has lived their whole life in one place, or they live down the street from their family and they've never left. That's
Yeah, they're
not a
seen as
cool
losers.
story in America. Like US, we're like, oh, why? Like, why didn't you, move to San Francisco when you were 21? Like that's the cool story. That's what we like. We like the story where you leave home and go find yourself. And we don't value staying at all.
I really wonder why that is. I think it has, I don't know, like just like individualist culture and like our economic, I guess, systems that we have in place.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I just never saw like the benefit of like the support system that my like family offered to me. Like even though they are in large part responsible for me being like having the privilege, to like be able to just like leave my job and go traveling for a while, and like having them like, deal with all the other times that I just wanted to take some time off of work and like read and learn and explore myself and like the world that I inhabit, And if it wasn't for them, I don't know if I would have like been able to develop that curiosity that I have for like life in general, I would say. And it's just like these little subtle things that you don't notice until like they're no longer there. Just because as soon as I got to Mexico, when I was like maybe 2 weeks in, I was just like thinking about how I could actually get my family to move to Mexico again. Because they obviously have their roots here as well. Like they have their friends, their friend circles. Like most of our family already lives in the States as well. Although not in Las Vegas, we're actually we're by ourselves here in Vegas. We have family in California, North Carolina, etc. But we're pretty much by ourselves here. But everybody in my family, they're either married or they're in a relationship or they have friends. So they have like their lives set here. And I was thinking like, okay, it'll be kind of selfish for me to, try to do that to them. But like, I honestly think if they were to go back and experience the things that I did and like see how beautiful and like cool and cultural it is in Mexico, I think they would definitely have like, at least they would, maybe consider it. But oh man, I just remember like thinking that like, how can I get them to move over here? Because I want like, the family unit and everything, but I also want to live in Mexico. So it's like,
yes, I know. It's like we can just like take everybody with us. Like, okay, come on, pack your bags. I know. I mean, we're such communal creatures. Like I think we're all technologically advanced, but at heart, like our bodies, our psyches are made to be in small groups. In extended families, not perhaps as small as we do. I think in the States, the other possible downfall that we have is that we place so much focus on the nuclear family and not the extended family. Yeah. Which I think is part of the conversation of why I think especially parents of young children are so burnt out and stretched thin, especially mothers, because I don't think that we are meant to raise children in this kind of isolated vacuum of it's just the nuclear family. Like I think we're supposed to have a little, a group of lots of different adults who can jump in and take the kids and so I
think like thinking about that as well, because I remember when I was like first, like, I don't know, there was like a period where I was just like really thinking about like my mother and like when she moved here, because she speaks English now, but like when she first moved here, she had no knowledge of English. And I was just like wondering like how hard it must have been for her to like care for like me and my 3 siblings, like by herself, or 2 siblings rather, sorry. Like how hard it must have been in like a new culture in a new city that she didn't really know. I couldn't imagine like not having like the support system that she had back, in our little pueblito in Durango. So it was just like, oh my God, like, I just can't imagine how she dealt with like that stress and like that little help. And I kind of understand her. Like, I don't know how she remained so loving either. Cause like usually you would think like she would just like freak out and like, just like give up. But it's like she held it together and she like, was so providing and so caring that it was just like insane to me, like to be able to like see that now and like actually appreciate it for what she is. And wow, it was just like props to like every mother, honestly, like especially through COVID these days. Oh my God.
Oh my
I can't even
gosh. I
imagine
know.
what you guys are going through.
It's too much. It's too much. I would
Yeah.
love to sit and hear your mom's stories. I bet she has some
Yeah.
amazing stories. And that must have been really like emotionally difficult too, to move away from her family, to move to
Hmm.
this new place, to have to acclimate, to raise three children and learn a new language. Like, oh my gosh. That's
Yeah.
a lot. That's a lot on somebody's system. Now,
Yeah,
did you guys move
absolutely.
straight to the Vegas area?
Yeah. My dad was
Okay,
already
so
over
that's
here.
also quite a place to move to as
Right,
well.
yeah. Especially because like, in like her little town, like we were all raised Catholic, like very, it was just like a very big part of our lives. So like having her come
Yeah.
from like going to church like almost every day to like, this
Oh,
city where like, sex is like so present and in your face. I don't know like what must have been through like
no.
or going through her mind, but
I
oh
know.
man, I would love to know
She was
that.
like, where have I come to? Like, what?
Yeah. Like I wonder if she like thought if it was like if she had like any regrets or like if she would I don't know like yeah it was really hard to like because obviously like this provided us with like a higher standard of living and like a lot of different opportunities but at what cost
Right.
like I'm sure like the material
Right.
costs could definitely mostly outweigh most anything else but I'm sure she had like some doubts about certain things and yeah I've never really asked her now that you kind of mentioned it I'm gonna go
Oh my
ask her right
gosh.
after this call
Yeah, you
and see
gotta
what
have your mom on the podcast.
right
That's
just
what we gotta have mom here.
they tell us all your life story.
Tell
Like,
us
you know
about
what?
it.
It
Yeah.
was so funny because I actually like follow this I think he's a physicist, but like he wrote this book that I like completely loved. I forgot the name of it right now. But he I follow him on Twitter and he tweeted something out about if you have like a very how everybody should actually well his premise was that everybody should write an autobiography, especially if you've had like a
I
very
love
interesting
that.
life because a lot of the things
Yes.
that you're going through somebody else is also going through them, and maybe you have a way of coping that can change that person's life. And yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, I think my mom definitely has like some, experiences to share
Mm,
about like moving from Mexico into like a completely brand new culture that's totally different from what you were used
yeah.
to and how she
Yeah.
acclimated and everything. And I'm sure everybody has like, those type of experiences and stories that can relate to somebody across the world. So,
Right.
and I think that's like actually the beautiful thing about like the internet as well, that like for
Yes.
example, when I like watch your videos, I like feel like so relatable or like so identified sometimes like about what
Mm,
you talk about and like how you express certain things because it's like oh wow that's how I
mm.
kind of see those things as well like that's really really cool and
Yeah.
I feel like it's like that solidarity and like I guess like level of connectedness that
Hmm.
I don't know that people get for, like from those type of stories and like those type of like or that type of content online and yeah I
Right.
hope like more people start doing it because I feel like we should all be on YouTube like we should all be sharing our
Yes.
experiences and stories and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that's, one benefit of the internet is like if you can have access to stories that you might not have access to otherwise. You can see, other people's lives. The thing about travel that is so, to me, is so beautiful is you get to see that everybody's the same, even though
Hmm.
we're all different, we all have all different things that we think are normal, but in that we are the same. Because I remember the first time I ever left the US was I went to Japan with my college roommate. Her family lived over there. And so I
Hmm.
went to visit. And we stayed with her parents and we just did a lot of ordinary things. We went grocery shopping, we did very ordinary life stuff. And
Yeah.
it just hit me like, wow, there are all these people who live a life that might like look really different in a lot of ways to my life, but it's essentially the same.
Hmm.
And this to them is as normal as my life is to me. And it kind of blew my mind a little bit. And I think that reading books, reading memoirs, autobiographies can do that. Watching stuff online can do that. When you can see somebody else and say like, wow, this person is on the outset very different for me, and their life might look really different
Hmm.
from mine, but they want the same things, they value the same things, they love their family, they're curious, they're happy sometimes and sad sometimes. Like it makes you realize how connected we are.
Yeah, absolutely. How we can all help each other as well, at like various different
Yeah.
like times of need. And yeah, I think like it's very well, I think it's very natural for us to like as pattern seeking like I guess humans. I want to say animals, but like humans as well. Like we're just like for example, like I was noticing so many parallels with your conversation with your friend. I think her name was Simone. When you guys were talking about Simona, sorry.
Yeah.
When you guys were talking about the Britney Spears documentary, because in previous episodes I was talking about like how like certain fictions they can that we tell ourselves about like the world and just like about groups of people that we know of, how they can come to like become self-fulfilling sometimes, like how like a lot of the stories that we tell ourselves, like we start to believe and internalize and then act out. And you talked about that like from the perspective of like being a woman. But the same thing is true like about everything else, because in a previous episode I was talking to Melina Melgoza, who's a UCLA grad. Wonderful conversation. She brought that similar take, but from like a perspective of ethnicities, where like certain stories and narratives about like minorities, they come to internalize those things and like people start to believe them. And the previous episode I kind of broadened that out to like humanity and humankind, and about the stories that we tell about ourselves, about how we're, innately selfish, and how we come to internalize that, and how we consequently build society around those different, fictions, and like the type of impact they can have. And it's so crazy how a lot of these things, like there's like a baseline where we're all kind of the same, or like a lot of these things spring out from like the same thing, but then they lead to like completely different cultures and outcomes, right? Because like even though your life and like the lives of like your friend in Japan are like similar in so many different ways, those things like manifest like completely different, because of the geographical location or the culture or the beliefs. And I don't know, I just think that's obviously, it's not beautiful that it can like those things can still lead to like negative outcomes, but I think it's like really beautiful how a lot of these things can like interplay with each other and like just bring out like these societies that we all partake in these days. So it's really interesting. Like being a human is really interesting.
It is. I know, it really is.
And it's like I feel like I don't know, like a lot of people like we go to life, and like obviously a lot of us, because we work 50 hours a week or whatever, we don't have time to like sit down and like think about these like abstract things. But I don't know, I feel like if a lot of people like did, I don't know, like I feel like the world would be a little bit better, because we would all have like that solidarity with each other, that hey, we're like who knows what we are, but like these are the things that like kind of influence us and motivate us and like etc. And just being aware of those type of things can like really, I don't know, make you a little bit more introspective about society and like life in general. And I don't know, like just more curious in general, because I feel like that's the biggest effect and benefit that I've had from just like being introspective, that it's just made me more curious about other people and like other cultures. And I love it,
Yes. I think a lot of people say that travel does that it opens your eyes and it does all those things to make you, think about humanity and stuff. And in my experience, like it absolutely can, but depending on the person, you can travel and not get any of that. You can travel and be so like focused inward that you miss all of it. Like it always blows my mind how often, anytime that I talk about something on YouTube that isn't just like, life is really great all the time and everybody's happy. And, if you move to Mexico, everything in your life will be perfect all the time and nothing bad ever happens here because life is a fantasy land. Like anytime I say anything off that script, people will be like, stop overthinking it. Just go with the flow. Like you are always overthinking it. Like, no, really? Are you, at first I would, it would bother me, but now I'm like, wait, so you're telling me you don't think about these things?
Right?
Like you're telling me that you don't think? I remember
no, exactly. It's like
being, oh my gosh, like don't admit that on the internet, people. Like keep it to yourself.
And it's like, I don't know, it's like a weird thing as well, because it's understandable that like sometimes people just come online to like seek out a certain type of content. And like most other channels are tailored for like that structure, like, hey, I'm only going to provide this thing, and anything that like kind of deviates from that, like we're not going to do, like we don't do that. Or they'll have like a separate channel for that, which is kind of how I operate right now, which I'm trying not to do, because it's like, I'm a human,
it's smart.
I have,
that's how you
I have a lot of interests, a lot of flaws, a lot of things that like make up who I am. And I do want to share that with people because I ultimately want to connect with people that see things like how I see them. Not necessarily because I want like an echo chamber or anything like that, but I would want to connect with those people because it's so hard to find them sometimes, I feel.
Yes.
And that's something that I completely loved about your channel, you know, that it wasn't just like informational, like travel advice or anything like that. You talked about your personal life, a lot of the sociopolitical issues that you've talked about on your channel as well. Like all of that stuff was like so interesting to me, and I personally loved that you would mix that into like your travel vlogs. Because it's not now. Not only was I getting like the content that I loved seeking out, like which was like Mexican travel videos. Right. Now was also like learning about like you as a human being and like learning about like the sociopolitical issues that I like thought about or that I know about, but I never really apply them to Mexico. You know, like like your video on gentrification. It's like, oh shit, that is happening in Mexico as well. Like why didn't that like click in my head? You know. And
I know.
I love seeing, like, I don't know. I don't think you should ever stop overthinking. Like, I mean, that's our, I guess, like advantage, you know, over like every other animal.
I'm just gonna own it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I think that's something to strive for, you know, because when you're able to like, when the brand is yourself, you know, it's like not necessarily like Mexican travel anymore. It like lets you actually be yourself, as opposed to like always having to put up like, well, not necessarily put up a front, but like only show like a specific, like a very narrow side of you know, and I think you're able to connect with people. I think they're able to help you when you're at a time of need. And yeah, I think there's just, I don't know. I enjoy it. And I enjoy your channel. So
thank you. It's like what you're saying, like you're looking for people who resonate with that. Mm-hmm. And that's how you find them is you just go out and you be yourself out loud. And then your people will find you. And it may not be a huge group, like, you know, but the people who get it really get it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have met like the most fascinating people who are just brilliant people through YouTube, through Instagram. And it's like you just know immediately, like, oh, okay, you get it.
Yeah, like you're able to connect with them at such like a deeper level.
Yes, and it's worth so much more to me than growing the channel to like massive proportions and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's that quality over quantity that's important to me. Like I want to find my people. Because that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like one of the goals that I actually had for this podcast, it initially started as like a place for like me and my friend to vent during COVID and everything that was going on. And also just because of like the work drama that I was experiencing at the time, I just needed a place to like just forget about all that and just talk about things that I wanted to talk about, you know? Because I feel like work and like life, they're important aspects, but at some point, like you just want to go back to talking about like your ideas and like things of that nature. And like I remember just like having conversations with her when we were discussing like, okay, well, what do we want this podcast to be about? And I just remember telling her that I want to like find people that resonate with what I'm saying, that are connecting, that see things similarly as I do, or overthink, you know, in a certain sense, because I do go pretty in depth into certain topics that are most people, even at work, you know, would tell me like, why do you think about this stuff? Like, who cares, you know? And it's like, I care. Like, this is what I like talking about, you know?
Care?
Yeah. I feel like there's like times, you know, like in when I meet people like out, just like in like at bars or whatever, or like even at work, where I feel like the conversations are like can be so much more, you know? And like I struggle to like find like similarities, because usually, you know, that's the best way to like actually have fulfilling conversations. Just find similarities and drill on them, you know? But like at some point it's like, okay, I want to stop talking about like video games or like, you know, food, even though they're like interesting topics. You know, I also want to talk about like, you know, politics. I want to talk about like humanity. I want to talk about like philosophy. I want to talk about all these different things that are what really interests me and like what I feel give me the most out of conversations. And it's hard to find sometimes, you know?
Right, I know.
But
I know.
It's I don't know. I think like the internet
it's
definitely.
Like whenever you do find those people, you're like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. And then they end up being like travelers as well, because I feel like in Mexico, it's so crazy.
They go somewhere else.
Yeah, because I feel like in Mexico, oh my god, I met like some of the most incredible people like just traveling. Like I feel like one of my closest friends now is actually somebody that lives in Querétaro, who I hope to see very soon. And like the way that like I met him at an Airbnb like randomly one night. He just came in, he was taking up one of the other rooms, and I was eating or something, and then he just asked to join me. And like we
Yeah.
had this amazing conversation about like life, about politics, about like philosophy, about like weed,
Mhm.
about all these
Yeah.
crazy things. And I think we ended up talking for like 3 hours. And
Wow.
like I found other people like similar to him, although not to like the same
Yeah.
extent. And I don't know if it's just like the select people that choose to like travel and go to Mexico, because I feel like there are a lot of those type of people that are just like either seeking something more out of life and not
Yes.
necessarily like having this like very shallow travel experience. Kind of like
Yeah.
we were just talking about, that not everybody gets the same experience. And
Right.
yeah, I feel like I was able to connect with so many more people in Mexico than I ever was here in Vegas. And
I
it like really got me thinking,
know.
like, why is that? Like what? Like, what is the disconnect here? You know, because obviously Mexico by itself is really
Yes.
cool. It's cultural, but then like people,
Yeah.
and not just Mexicans, obviously, because like the travelers, like everybody else, like
Right.
they have like this similar way of viewing life, and it's just like, what is it about like this place that attracts so many of these like similar minded people? And yeah,
Right.
I don't think I have an answer, but it was like,
No, I had the exact same experience. It was so easy to make friends when I lived in Mexico. And I had just come from, I lived a couple of years in Charlotte, North Carolina before we moved to Mexico. And I think I made like one friend in those 2 years in Charlotte. I tried to make friends, but
yeah,
I had a young child, and I felt like I couldn't connect with anybody. And I just kind of got this mindset of like, oh, well, I must not, it just must be one of those people that doesn't have a lot of friends or whatever.
yeah,
And then I go to Mexico and it's like meeting friends left and right, just people that I have these instant connections with that I'm still friends with. There's a woman that I met her one time at a Thanksgiving gathering at a mutual friend's house. And we have kept in touch. And like I count her as like such a good friend, and we've only been in the same physical location one time, but it was just this immediate. It was just like the guy you met at the Airbnb.
yeah.
You find
That's all it
somebody
took,
and you're
right?
like, oh wow, yes, like we're kindred spirits. Like there's something in you that is so resonant with something in me.
Yeah.
And you know that you're just going to be friends with them. Thank God for the internet, because then we'd have to be writing letters all the time.
Oh God.
Not
with my handwriting.
Right.
That would be like the end of our friendship. It's like, okay, I don't want you to see my handwriting. I'm sorry,
Sorry.
I don't even know if you'd be able to understand what I'm saying, but
if we had been born at a different time.
Right? Oh, thank God for the internet, indeed.
Yes, we could just type. I can type so much faster than I write.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, this friend Liz and I are gonna meet up in Guanajuato for Day of the Dead this year.
Oh, nice.
This is so crazy. It's so crazy that we met each other one time.
Does she live there?
Like no, she lives in Arizona.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a certain type of person, and I think it's the places that we tend to go as people who are either looking to live for long stretches of time, like for a few months at a time, or relocate permanently, or I think we sometimes gravitate to the same places. Like you may not find them at the pool bar in the all-inclusive resort in Cancun.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, but the places that we tend to go, Querétaro and Guanajuato, and I feel like sometimes they attract a certain type of person, and not type of person like there's anything fundamentally different, but like with similar interests or similar values. I just think they've already selected themselves out of the larger pool of potential friends. You have like this smaller group of people who have wound up in these places that, maybe aren't always the first like vacation destinations that people think of when they think of Mexico.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I would be really interested to know what other people's experiences are who travel in the more like touristy parts. If they also find their people there, or if it's more challenging or what.
Yeah, when I was in like in Puerto Vallarta, for example, like when I was there, I feel like there was still like I was still like be able to like make friends, but like most of the people there were travelers, or the people that were just like there for like a weekend. And
Right.
yeah, like I don't think I like met anybody that was like, wow, you're like my kindred spirit, we're like connecting so much. But I think there
Yeah.
definitely is like a difference in terms of like the people that travel. Like obviously you're still gonna find, you know, people of all walks of life anywhere.
Right.
But I think there is like a higher concentration of people that are just out for like like a weekend getaway in like Puerto Vallarta,
Right.
which isn't to say that they
Right.
aren't or that they can't be like deep people, but it's harder to
Sure.
connect with somebody who's like in a set mindset, you know, like, hey, I'm only here to party, like, you know, I don't really want to talk about like life right now.
Right.
So
right.
I do think that like if like when you go to Guanajuato or like even Mexico City, certain parts of Mexico City, you can definitely find like a you know, selection of other people that are a little bit more that are there for like probably other reasons, you know, that are there to like either explore or to like experience like the culture. So I think they are definitely a little bit more prone to like be the type of people that I guess we would connect to, because yeah, it was very interesting to like see the different dynamics even like within the cities in Mexico, you know, or like like the cities in Mexico is like there definitely was like a noticeable difference in the type of travelers, but then also in the people. So I think I don't know, something about Mexico City though like definitely blew me out of the water. So I actually can't wait to go back.
Mexico City, yeah, that place is so interesting. It is so complicated and complex and dynamic, and I feel like, wow, I was only there for a few days, but I feel like you could just spend forever there and not understand it. And it doesn't, absolutely. You know, it doesn't care. Like, it does not care if you understand it either. Like, it is completely unconcerned about whether you get it or not.
I just remember getting there and like seeing like the map. Like I think I took a bus from like Guadalajara to like Mexico City. And I just remember like seeing like, okay, we got into Mexico, but it took like another 2 hours for us to actually get into like the, you know, the middle of the city to like where the bus station was. So I was like, Jesus Christ, how big is this city? Like I knew it was big, but I guess I didn't understand like the magnitude, or like I wasn't able to conceptualize it. And I just remember when I got there, like I felt like I don't know, I felt like this air of like just being able to like blend in, you know, like it didn't care what you were there for. Like how you were saying, like you were able to like be whoever you want. You were able to like blend into the crowds. God, I remember like my first 2 days there, like I like on each day I ended up walking like almost 10 miles just because I was like out sightseeing and like I don't know, just like doing the most. And it was like such a fabulous city. Like, oh, I can't wait to go back. But like but Querétaro, I think like that's like where I actually felt like I don't know, I feel like that was my Guanajuato. It's like, yeah, your Guanajuato was like it seems like in your videos like there was something very captivating about like Guanajuato to you. For me, I think that was actually Querétaro, and it was completely outside of my radar. Like had I not met that friend there in Mexico and had he not invited me to like stay with him for a while, like I would have never gone to Querétaro probably. And just like now seeing how centrally located it is and how beautiful like the center is and how, I don't know, like how younger it is, you know, like you talk about like Guanajuato like being like a little bit younger than San Miguel de Allende. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like a really nice, I don't know, place where I would maybe hopefully one day consider home. So we'll see.
Oh, that's exciting. That's exciting. I do believe like places have energies, and there's just something about like you show up in a place and there's something about its energy that just like hits a spot inside your soul. And there's like, oh, okay.
Absolutely.
I need to be here.
Yeah. What other places?
So when are you... when are you going back and where will you head first?
So I'm thinking, well, our governor actually said that he like had a press conference yesterday saying that like every healthy adult would be able to would be able to schedule a vaccine as early as like April 1st, with everybody being able to be vaccinated by the end of the month. So I mean, if that's true, I would definitely plan to be there like the next month, you know, April, May. I definitely plan on like being out there as soon as possible, just because I'm dying to get out of here. Like I love my family. I'm definitely appreciative of like Vegas now, but I just need to get out of this place.
Right. I think we are all like, I don't think it matters where you are.
It does not matter where I go at this point. You're completely right.
We all just need to leave for a little while.
Yeah. Absolutely. I would go to, I don't know, Pahrump or like some other like nearby city as well. Like it doesn't matter.
Anywhere.
Yes. But like to like answer you seriously, I do plan on like hopefully going back to Querétaro. Like I feel like I don't know, I feel like that would be a really good base as well, like to just kind of travel outside of, just because it's so centrally located. It's very close to Guanajuato as well, to San Miguel de Allende, Mexico City. And I just feel like it's very It's like Guadalajara. I think have you been to Querétaro?
Yeah. No, I've only been to the airport,
Mm-hmm.
and I stayed in a hotel out, like kind of closer to the airport side. I've never been into the center of the city. And I feel like that's my one big, like, oh, come on, Erin, how did you
Yeah.
not make that happen?
Like,
So it's high up on my list because I've heard so many wonderful things
yes,
about that
I'm
city.
telling you, I was so surprised. And this is after like seeing,
Yeah.
I think, wait, no, this was before actually going to San Miguel de Allende and Guanajuato.
Yeah.
And I want to say maybe, because those are beautiful cities, obviously. But when I got
Mhm.
there, it was like, okay, like I've seen Querétaro. I mean, I don't know if this is like that
Yeah.
much like more to like, be super excited about, not to like
Yes.
cause offense or anything, but it like, I obviously love those two cities, but like Querétaro was like, wow, it was like a
Right.
whole nother level. Like in San Miguel de
Yeah.
Allende, you have like one big square, like which is like where the cathedral is at, and maybe like
Right.
some surrounding like parks or whatever. In
Right. Right.
Querétaro, it's like 5 different blocks of just like centro.
Oh.
Like it's just like beautiful
Oh my
buildings and like
gosh.
statues and little
Mm.
corridors. It was so pretty. And then like the outskirts as well. Like something that like really was unique to me was that like on the hills, like like in Guanajuato, you have like
Mhm.
all those little houses on like the mountains and the hills. Over there,
Yes.
it's kind of the same, but it's like high rise buildings and like these modern. It's like I don't know. It was just
Wow.
like super beautiful. Like I just was remember thinking that this was like
Wow.
how Greece is like, or something like how this is something like I don't know. It was just I felt like it was completely different than anything I'd seen in Mexico so far. So
Wow.
I was just blown away by it at that. I can't wait to go back.
All right. Well, I'm going to put that top of the list then
Yes,
for for when I go back.
absolutely.
I'll
And then
definitely,
like
definitely
the
spend some
food,
time there.
like some of the
Oh
restaurants there
my
were like some of the best that
gosh.
I had.
Oh, wow. Oh man, this is making me want to go like buy a plane ticket.
When do you think you'll be back? Because I know you kind of
You
have
know,
other precautions that you have to take into
yeah,
consideration.
right. So I've got my kid. She is turning 6 this year. So I have no idea when she's going to be vaccinated. So I'm not going to travel with her until she's vaccinated.
Hmm.
Um, but I get my second shot on the 28th of March. So I'm so close
Yeah,
to
fully
being
vaxxed.
vaccinated, but yes. So I don't know yet like when I'll be able to actually like move the country, or if I'll, stick with a few like smaller trips around the US first. I think I want to know like what's the situation there, how's their outbreak going? Like I don't want to show up in the middle of like a bad situation and be like,
Hmm.
"Hi, I'm here to be a
Yeah,
tourist."
everything's closed.
Sorry that stuff's going bad for you, but I'm
I'm
vaccinated.
vaccinated. Yeah, I'm over here having the time of my life.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, I think because I'm in a little bit of a different situation than you, because you're actually looking to stay more longer, like a longer term
Hmm.
visit. It would be more like almost more like a resident. I feel like
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's if I have a different feeling as a tourist than I would if I were moving there. I think if I were moving there, I'd just yeah, like let's
Do you ever
go, like
plan
you
on
were
like
saying.
going back for like? Because I know you said that you may try to go back for like Day of the Dead now, Guanajuato. But do you ever have,
Yeah.
or do you have any plans of like moving here for like 3 months or something, or like 6 months?
I don't know. I think I will have to play it by ear.
Hmm.
I could see myself going for like a longer stay, like a month to 2 months. But I have to figure out there's a lot of moving parts for me because I have parents who are getting older. That's
Hmm.
part of why we moved back. I've got my kid, and I'm separated from my ex-husband. So I feel like my flexibility to just like pick up and go is a little bit limited.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know how Jesse would like me be like, hey, peace out. I'm gonna take Harper out of the country for 3 months.
Yeah, that's true.
See you later. But I don't know. I mean, I think another thing that I learned in that year in Mexico is just never say never.
Hmm.
And you have no idea. You have no idea what you're gonna feel like in a year, what your life is gonna look like in a year,
True.
how things are gonna change. So I would not say that I know for sure anything really. I wouldn't.
Smart answer. Yeah, that's a
I
smart
don't think
answer.
anything is off the table. Yeah, nothing is off the table because I can say here's where I'm at right now, and these are the factors that I've got to consider. But who knows? Who knows how that's going to change because it's changed before. So
Yeah.
I'm sure
Life
it'll
will
change
surprise
again.
you.
Yes, it will.
One question as well, just because we're almost hitting the hour mark here, and I'm not sure
Yeah.
how constrained on
Yeah.
time you are. But when you mentioned that you may be going back to Guanajuato for Day of the Dead, it just reminded me as well
Yeah.
that you recently experienced the loss of your brother. Was that last year or 2019?
Yeah, it was January 2020.
Oh, I am sorry that
Yeah.
happened. I actually did
Thank you.
lose my grandma and an aunt as well to COVID,
Oh.
unfortunately.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
So yeah, it was like really sad for me.
Yeah.
I knew my grandma, not really my aunt, but yeah, it was like really sad experience, especially because she was here just like
Yes.
a few months before then. But
Oh.
I was just wondering, like, do you ever, or in one of the conversations that you also had with Simona, she mentioned that in the U.S. we don't really have a proper way to like, or we're not really allowed to like grieve, and that we don't really have any rituals. And I was just wondering, since you've I'm assuming you've experienced Day of the Dead before.
Yes.
Do you ever plan on like maybe taking some of that and seeing how it might fit into your life and remembering your brother and any other lost family members?
Yeah, that was a huge a huge experience for me. The first year so when we were in Guanajuato, we had been there for a few months when it was Day of the Dead. And we went with some friends to a cemetery and we were there and seeing how people were decorating graves of their families and how they were, that was another moment, another like touchstone of, oh my gosh, like look at all these families together. And then I remember being in Costa Rica and I went to a cemetery just because I'd heard it was really beautiful. And so I wanted to go see it. And I was walking around looking at the graves and thinking about Day of the Dead. And I just had this overwhelming sense of being so far away from the graves of my family, graves of my grandparents, of my great aunts and uncles. And it just kind of hit me that I wasn't there to take care of their graves, which to like a lot of people would sound silly. Like, why does that matter? They're dead. Like, who cares? But to me, it felt so significant. I think especially having seen Day of the Dead celebrated in Mexico, it felt really significant, that act of caring for a loved one's grave. And so, yeah, like when we came back, I have this past Day of the Dead. Harper and I set up an ofrenda at our house. We put pictures and we decorated it, and had a picture of my brother and a bunch of other people. And it felt really good. Like it felt good to just like openly acknowledge the loss, because I feel like so often, when you lose somebody in the States, like people are really sympathetic for the first little bit and then everything just disappears. And it's not because anybody, means to. It's just we don't have anything to keep remembering.
Yeah.
Maybe on the anniversary of their deaths, we'll put something up on the internet, on social media.
Yeah.
But there is like this lack of like ritual and this, so you almost feel even more disconnected from them. Like you've lost them, you've lost that connection in this life to them. And then, it continues to be an absence of their, just talking about them, seeing their picture, remembering them. And so having a day set apart and it's not just the day, because it's all the preparations leading up to the day, so you have like this whole celebration of the lives of the people who are in your family or the people that you've lost. And it does, like, it makes you feel better.
Yeah. I
And it
think
makes you feel connected too to the people that are still alive who also remember those people.
yes. I think it has like both of those benefits, that it lets you remember that like, hey, the people around me are not always going to be there. And I'm not always going to be around there for them at some point. But it also lets you just finally, I guess, like be able to grieve, because I think like when somebody does pass, we're, like you said, we're very sympathetic. We acknowledge the loss for a month or two. And then after a while, we either try to suppress those emotions or like that grief to not talk about it because we don't want to be seen as like emotional or anything like that. But I think allowing ourselves, to acknowledge that those feelings and like that loss definitely helps. It's kind of like exposure therapy in a sense, where it's like this person is no longer here. It feels bad. I want to show that it feels bad, and I want to release these emotions just so they're not eating me up inside. And like me and my family have never actually celebrated like Dia de los Muertos for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know if it's not like a big thing in like northern Mexico, but it's something that I do want to start, acknowledging and celebrating, especially like this upcoming year, like that we lost my grandma and my aunt. I mean, hopefully, hopefully nothing else, we don't lose anybody else this year, but I want to start like, having that ritual like that, celebrating that day and celebrating them and remembering them, because otherwise we're going to forget about them. And it's kind of like I think like the plot of Coco, right? Where it's like, their memories live within us. So they are in a sense still alive. But if we forget them, like, they're gone forever. And I think that's the beautiful, part of that celebration, that we're celebrating them, we're remembering them, and we're keeping them alive, even if it's just within our memories. So
yes, I love what you said about, you feel the feelings so that you can release them. I think a lot of people don't get that, because, and I have made a point to be fairly open with my grief in this process. And I always get, for the most part, people are really understanding. But I'll always get, one or two comments like, "What's wrong with you? Like, why are you still upset? Why are you so sad? You got to move on. You got to move on." All this stuff. It's like, but I am moving on. Like, this is moving on, because if I feel the feelings and release them, then I can, like, that does actually help. Like, it actually, bottling it up and pretending that it's not there, that is not letting go. Like, that is not moving on, because those emotions are going to come out in some other way. It's going to come out with like me lashing out at my kid, or being a jerk to somebody in the grocery store, or, buying too much random stuff on the internet. Like, it's going to come out. Like, it will come out. It's going to come out. It's whether you are going to be aware of it, and you're going to be participating with it and bringing it out yourself, or if it's just going to come out in its own destructive way.
Exactly. I mean, it's your choice, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully more people would actually choose the latter point, because, or was it the latter? Yeah, I think it was.
Whichever one.
Yeah, exactly. Because otherwise, it can definitely manifest into like unhealthy behaviors if you don't acknowledge your emotions of any kind, honestly, not even just about loss. So hopefully that's a takeaway for most people that listen to this episode. Well, Erin, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. It was a pleasure having you on. Hopefully we are able to have you on again, especially closer to either of our departures, to Mexico, because I think it'll be really cool to see our state of minds. And hopefully we're able to connect in some other way in life. And again, thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Maybe we'll see each other in Mexico one day.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll find me all over, but most likely in Querétaro, hopefully. And again, if you ever go to Guanajuato, it's just a few hours away, so I'm sure we will.
That would be great. My dream is like to go have like dinner parties with everybody, with all the overthinkers that I've met on the internet, and just like go and let's just have an overthinkers dinner party. We'll have a topic.
Overthinkers
for
Anonymous.
The evening. Yes. We'll just talk and talk and talk.
That would actually be amazing.
I think this is going to be my actual goal. Like, I want to do one in Mexico City. Like, yes, I'm totally going to do it.
Oh man, let me know. I will help you plan the event.
Yes, there you go. Absolutely. Bring all your cool traveler people, and we'll just sit and We'll
That actually
talk
sounds like an
about,
amazing idea. Oh my God.
yes,
We should totally pursue that.
yes,
If you're doing it, I'm totally helping you
absolutely.
whatever way I can.
Okay, all right. 100% will speak this into existence. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much for having me. This was a great conversation. I really
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely.
it.
Likewise, Erin. Thank you so much for coming on. And I hope you have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
You too. You
All
too. I'll
right.
talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Bye.
All right, bye.